everyone. I'm Derek Brown, the chairman of the Utah Republican Party, and thanks for joining us today on another episode of what we call Chairman's Chat, where we get a chance to meet some of our amazing candidates. Today we have Jeremiah Clark, who is with us representing he is our nominee for House District 40. And first of all, tell us a little bit about where that is, so people who are in 40, because a lot of times people don't know kind of what their district, few people actually do. So where is 40 in the Salt Lake area?
It's a good part of the communities of Mill Creek and Holiday and Sugar House. It goes from I-80 on the east side to 4800 south between Highland Drive and 7th East.
Fantastic. So before we start, give us a little bit of background about you, so people get a chance to know who Jeremiah is and why you're running.
Thank you. Well, I'm Jeremiah Clark. I'm from the area. My wife and I, Rachel, were both raised in the area which we live in now. We went to Granite at Olympus High School, and I started working for the church educational system, and I taught in Idaho and Oregon, and then went to the East Coast and spent 20 years there. In recent years, I've had responsibility for church education in many parts of the world, in Asia and Europe and Africa, and some of the sweet experiences have been in the South Pacific, where we have schools in Tonga and Fiji. And
So you've lived there.
I spent time
spent
there,
time
but I
living
haven't
there, or
lived
spent time
there,
teaching and being in the
But
schools.
I had responsibility for the schools there,
That's great.
and so that's been very sweet for me. And now after 34 years with church education, I plan on retiring. We decided that a few years ago, and in March of this year, just when the pandemic was starting to grow and have impact, before the political and social impact, and before the earthquake, before the social unrest of the summer, the party approached me and asked me to run. And I discovered that my dear mother-in-law, Rachel's mother, had written a letter to the party. And
Oh, really?
it was a nice letter. It made me grand. And as a result, the party reached out to me, and I felt it was an opportunity to serve. And so we accepted the invitation and thought, if we're going to do this, we'd jump in with both feet.
That's great. Well, and sometimes some of our best elected officials in the past are people who are sort of going about their lives, and then someone sort of tapped them on the shoulder and said, "You really ought to consider doing this and running for office." And so I'm grateful that you did. Grateful you're here doing that. Tell us a little bit about how campaigning how you've had to adapt. I mean, what you sort of thought the campaign would look like probably ended up looking nothing like that at all because of COVID. So what have you done that's a little bit different this time around?
Well, because I'm new and I haven't been known, I felt like it was important to become known. I was uncomfortable. I'm not knocking on doors because I don't want to put people in an uncomfortable situation of being face to face. So we've printed thousands of flyers that just have my picture and introduce myself, and we've been taking those around to doors and hanging them on doorknobs. And as we do that, if there's people out in the neighborhood, I stop and introduce myself and visit with them and tell them what I'm doing, and that's been a sweet experience.
That's great. You do it with I've seen you have the mask.
I do. I have
which is
several masks.
with your name on it. And
No, I do have a University of Utah mask. That's well
that's
received.
probably well received.
That's well
and, yeah.
received.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend I mean, if it were me, I'd be wearing my Y mask, but that probably wouldn't be as well received in that area. So
Yeah.
you got to keep that up. But so as you're doing this, as you're talking with people, I mean, as a candidate, I always found that the same couple of issues came up over and over and over. What are those in House District 40? What are those big issues that just kind of like the patterns you see?
You know, the patterns that I've seen, and it has to do with some of this really nice response that I've received, is our folks, our residents, they want to participate. They want to feel like they have a voice, and they want to live in good neighborhoods. They want to trust their elected officials. They want to support, well, they do. They have great passion for their local schools, the schools that their children go to. They want their teachers to feel appreciated and valued. And so education is something that most that I've visited with are very interested, not only just in their talking, but in their day-to-day life.
That's great. Anything? What's been the most surprising thing? Anything surprised you in the process of doing this that wasn't kind of what you'd expected?
Well, this is kind of taking on a theme, but the surprise was is when I first announced to friends and family, I was warned about the nastiness of politics and
Sure.
unpleasantness, and certainly on mainstream media and social media, it's extreme and it's harsh and it's negative. That has not been my experience. The people I talk to, even folks that are not politically aligned with me, they say, "I admire you for what you're doing. We wish you the best. You have our respect, and we're going to look at what you stand for." And that's been very
That's
rewarding, very
great.
surprising.
That's great. Well, and I think we get this. We're sort of jaded a little bit because the negativity we see on TV and on social media is a very tiny group of people who are very loud and may not, in fact, definitely do not represent the larger community. And so as you start talking to people one on one, and it's funny, it's the same thing in the House. I mean, when I served in the House, some of my best friends were Democrats with whom I didn't agree, but we were very civil, and all of the agreement never made the news.
That's
So
been my experience.
that's fantastic. What have you loved the most about it? Because it is a hard
The, the,
process. Campaigning is hard. It's emotional. It's time consuming. There's a lot of things that a lot of people don't like about it. What have you liked? Thought I'd take a
well,
different twist on that
that's
question.
good. I'm not naturally a social person. I'm not the
Well, you
life
are a
of a
teacher though,
party. I am a
so
teacher.
you're comfortable in front of people.
I
Clearly, you've been doing this
well
a long
in a
time.
classroom, and especially as I get to know the students. But frankly, when I go to take these flyers around and see people in their yards, I'm a little self-conscious. I'm not. It's not my nature really to go up and promote myself.
Yeah,
But in doing that, the responses that I've had have been very, very sweet, and those things have been rewarding and fun.
that's great. What if you were to be elected, tomorrow and sworn in? What would be your big issue? Like, what if you could sort of choose one issue that you would tackle tomorrow? What would it be?
Well, I've published my interest in several issues of clean air, of
Which is
better access
particularly
to,
interesting right now because we have all these fires going on
yeah, we
that
have
are
fires
impacting
going on,
impacting the air quality right
and
now.
and we learned a lot about air quality during the COVID time when we weren't commuting to work. We learned that we can really make a difference, and I think there's real opportunity for businesses and downtown folks to say, hey, let's have flexible work weeks. Let's work 4 days a week, or let's work from home. Let's cut down the commute. And my wife and I just celebrated 38 years of
Oh, that's
marriage,
great!
and
Congratulations. That's
we thank you. We did something we've never done. We went up and rented e-bikes up in Park City, and went for
that's
ridings. And
I've seen a lot of people up there doing that. That
well,
looks like a lot of fun.
I've ridden a bike, and it was fabulous because I could ride for miles and miles, and I wasn't perspiring. I could wear a suit and ride that bike. So it was a fun experience.
That's great. So clean air, that's kind of a big
So
one that
so
you.
clean air is a big one. I think what I'd like to accomplish most is I would like the people of Mill Creek and Holiday and Sugar House to feel like they have a voice in shaping the future. I believe in representative government, and I don't have a personal agenda or personal issues that I want to get in and necessarily move forward, but I do want to help shape our community as it grows. We're facing real growth. People are coming because they love it here, and we are going to have some real issues to deal with to keep our way of life. And I'd like the residents of District 40 to feel like they have a voice in that I want to act as a representative of that voice.
That's great. Well, that's sort of a good sum up in terms of kind of wrapping up what it is. Is that kind of what you say to people when they say, "Why should I vote for you?" In a nutshell, is that your message? Because that's sometimes the hardest thing to do is to say why should I vote for you in
Yeah.
20 seconds? That kind of thing.
Well, and I am comfortable in talking about some of those issues, and I do that. But just Saturday, a man was out working with his tomato plants, and we started visiting, and I told him this very thing that I'd hoped to give him a voice. And he said, "Well, you're doing that. I'm.
Hmm.
That's what's happening right here. You're listening to me, and I want to make that a priority. I will have the time. I will have the ability to make myself available to the residents." And so that will be a big part of who I am and
Fantastic. And you obviously know the area because you've lived there a very long time, and so that's fantastic. Well, thank you for being here today. Just in wrap up, it's been a pleasure to join Jeremiah Clark here, who is our amazing candidate in House District 40. And ballots will be arriving very soon. You'll see them come to your mailbox. This will be, I think, the first time we have a general election where everyone gets a ballot. So when it comes, be sure to fill it out immediately and send it in. And for those of you in House District 40, be sure to vote for Jeremiah Clark. So Jeremiah, thank you for being with us today.
Gary,
Appreciate your
thank
time.
you very much.
Thanks.